We'll be making French Beat It Forsythia today. This project was part of a beat along I ran in the Learn How to Make French Beat It Flowers Facebook group. I've just got the chance to put it all together in one full video here. Timestamps are in the description so that you can easily jump to each of the sections. The quantities of each of the units are not specified, as it is up to you how many of each flower, bud, and leaf to make. This video is a companion to the pattern in my book, Beat Flora, French Beat It Branches in Bloom. If you don't have my book, you can download the free PDF. The link is in the description. For materials, tools, and everything else you need, refer to the pattern in the book or the free PDF. This is an intermediate project. Now I'm going to show you how to make the petals, and this is for petals A. And I already have some size 11 yellow seed beads on a spool of 24 gauge gold copper core wire. The technique that we'll be using is the continuous split basic, and the pattern calls for a 6-inch top basic wire. So let's measure out 6 inches for the top basic wire. And we'll need 4 beads for the top basic wire, and we're going to put 8 beads in the basic loop. And we're going to leave the twisted wire and loop to be about 2 inches. You don't need to twist the twisted wire too much. This is about a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch or so. And now with the top basic wire, just coil it up just to get it out of the way. The pattern calls for rounded tops, pointed bottoms, 5 rows. Now we have 1 petal made, so unwind the top basic wire here. Turn the petal around, bend the top basic wire along the back, and wrap it over the base of the petal and bring it back down. So that is back on the right hand side. Now we're going to twist the both wires together to make a new twisted wire. And this is about a 1/4 inch or so. I'm going to undo the top here and string on 4 beads. So now we are ready to make the second petal on here. And we only need 2 petals on the top basic wire. So to finish this off, we're going to bend this along the back again, bring it around, so that the wire is back on the right hand side. So now the top basic wire is one of the ending tail wires. I'm just going to do this here. And now we're going to make 2 petals on the twisted wire. So I'm going to unwind any twisted wires here and put 4 beads on each side of the loop. Cut at the top and make a knot on each end. And we want to position this working wire here so that it is next to the first petal over here. So that's between the petal and this wire. So take this here and put it in between the first two petals. And now the working wire is between this petal and this wire. So now make the next two petals on these wires. And now we're ready to make the last petal. So now we have all four of the petals made, and we're just going to finish the tops for the last two petals as we would normally. Just cut off the tops and bend them back. Now for these last two petals here, you can just leave them as they are if you don't mind the look of the wires going along the back. But if you do, I'm going to show you how to fix that. So all you need to do is pull the back wire just up like this, and then you can cut along the top so that the wire is in half or cut in half. Bend the top back, and then with this wire here, just wrap it around the base of the petal a couple of times, and then it will be secure. I'm just going to cut off the excess and tuck this in here. And I'm going to do the same with the last one here. Now cut another tail off of the spool. Now I'm going to show you how to make the bud, and I have some size 11 yellow seed beads on a spool of 26 gauge copper core wire. The technique that we'll be using is the triple split basic, and the pattern calls for 5 bead basics. So let's put 5 beads onto the top basic wire and 10 beads in the basic loop. And here we have a basic frame with 5 beads on the basic wire, and the top basic wire is about 1 inch. And the twisted wire to the loop is also about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches. Okay, so the pattern calls for pointed tops and pointed bottoms, and we'll need 3 rows. Take your cutters and cut right here so that now there are 2 wires, and make a knot at each end. Now twist the wires together and make another unit with pointed tops and pointed bottoms. So pull on the working wire so that it is along the middle. Cut a tail off of the spool. We're just going to finish the tabs as we would normally. And then fold the units over towards the center. For green bud A, make a 3-bead triple split basic with pointed top, pointed bottoms, 3 rows. For green bud B, make a 5-bead triple split basic, pointed top, pointed bottom, 5 rows. Now I'm going to show you how to make the pistil, and I already have some yellow beads already strung on a spool of 28 gauge gold wire. You actually need only 1 bead per pistil. And the technique that we'll be using is called the twisted fringe. So let's start out with a 3-inch tail. And just move 1 bead over. Now cross the wires underneath the bead. Now use your pliers and twist down 1/2 inch. Now cut another tail off of the spool. Now we'll work on the calyx, and I already have some size 11 green beads on a spool of 24 gauge green copper core wire. Let's unwind the beads here. The technique that we'll be using is the continuous loop. So let's leave a 3-inch tail. And the pattern calls for 4 10-bead continuous loops. So now let's cut another tail off of the spool. And twist the 2 ending tail wires together. Now we'll work on the calyx, and I already have some size 11 green beads on a spool of 24 gauge green copper core wire. Let's unwind the beads here. The technique that we'll be using is the continuous loop. So let's leave a 3-inch tail. And the pattern calls for 4 10-bead continuous loops. So now let's cut another tail off of the spool. And twist the two ending tail wires together. Now I'm going to show you how to make leaves A, and I already have some size 11 green seed beads on a spool of green copper core wire. The technique that we'll be using is the continuous split basic, and the pattern calls for a 5-inch top basic wire. So let's measure out the 5 inches here. We'll need 5 beads for the top basic wire and then 10 beads for the split basic. And the twisted wire can just be about 1/4 inch. Now with the top basic wire, wind it up to get it out of the way. And the pattern calls for pointed tops and pointed bottoms, 5 rows. And let's unwind the top basic wire. We'll make 3 of the leaf units on the top basic wire. So now we have all 3 of the leaf units done, and with the working wire you just want to just hold onto the units and pull down a bit, just so that all of the ends here match up. And let's finish this leaf here. Cut and bend that down. Now let's reposition the working wire so that it is right next to this wire here. Before we go on, we're going to shape the first 3 leaf units first. Let's turn it around. And with the back wires, you don't have to cut them so that they're all uniform because we're going to shape them in and you won't see the wires there. Now let's unwind any twisted wires here. If you do have any twisted wires, I have just a little bit. Unwind it. And move 5 beads through each side of the loop. And now we'll make 2 more leaf units on the split basic. And you just want to twist just a little bit more than you do with the other units here. Just do 2 more twists. Make another leaf unit. And right here, bring the wire down to the end here because we twisted just a little bit extra. And then pull. And we want the front facing in. I'm just going to cut this wire here first. And I'll make another one on this last wire. And just do a couple more twists than you would normally. Now I have the last leaf unit done. And again, bring it down to the end and pull it down. Pull the working wire towards the center of the whole unit. And cut another tail off of the spool. And finish off the top. And shape it. Shape the outer two leaf units out. Now we're going to work on leaf B, and I already have the basic frame made. We have a 5-inch top basic wire with 15 beads on the basic wire and 20 beads in the basic loop. So let's take the top wire and wind it up. Pinch it down. And make 5 rows with pointed tops and pointed bottoms. So now let's unwind the top basic wire, bend it down and bring it around. Now what we're going to do differently than we normally do is we're going to cut the back wire here right away. And then take this wire here and wrap it around the base. Hold on to your wires here because that could be just a little bit loose. So I'll cut this and tuck it in. I'm going to cut the tops here right away. Okay, now undo any twists, if you have any twists in the twisted wire. And move the bead so that there's 10 on each side. Cut here on the loop. And now we're going to make the last 2 leaves here. And again, just like leaf A, just twist a couple more twists than you would normally. There's a little bit of extra wire. Now take the working wire and wrap it down the twisted wire just a little bit more. That's why we had those extra 2 twists. And then pull it down. And we're just going to cut this right away. And position it so that the right side is facing in this time, and we're going to bend it back like this. Okay, now let's work on the last leaf. this down. Hold on to this and pull down. I'm going to cut the tail off first. And again, have the leaf with the right side facing in, and then bend it back. You can position this wherever you like. Now we're going to work on leaf C, and I already have the basic frame already made with 15 beads on the basic wire, and I have 16 beads on the basic loop, and the top basic wire is 12 inches. And the pattern calls for 6 continuous split basic leaves. And we're going to put 4 on the top basic wire and 2 on the split basic. And these will, the first 2 leaves will be exactly the same as leaves B. We're going to do 2 15 bead leaves, and then we're going to do 2 10 bead leaves. So now I have the 2 15 bead leaves made. So unwind the top basic wire and fold it along the back and wrap it around. So now I'm going to fix the back wire here as we go. Position the 2 leaves so that the long side is facing in, and cup them so that they're facing each other. Now we're going to work on the next 2 leaves, and these will be with 10 beads. So twist the wires here together. Undo the top basic wire and string on 10 beads. So now I have the 2 10 bead leaf units done. Let's finish this here. Cut off, bend that wire back. And now undo any twisted wires on the loop here. And move the beads on the loop so that there's 8 on each side. At the top and make a knot. So now let's twist these wires together and make the last 2 leaf units. Now we have the last 2 units done. Let's cut a tail off of the spool. And finish off the top wires. For the bud assembly, insert the bud into the bud calyx. Twist the 2 ending tail wires slightly at the base. For the flowers assembly, straddle the bottom wires of the pistil so that one of the wires is inserted in the center of the petals and the other wire is on the other side. Position the pistil so that it is in the center. Twist the wires slightly at the base. Insert the pistil/petals into the calyx. Position the tip of the calyx so that it is about 1/8 inch below the petals. Twist the wires together. Now here we have all of the components made and we are ready to assemble. I'm going to assemble the blossoms on two 12 gauge stem wires. So we're going to have about 15 blossoms on each stem. You can give or take a few. So I'm going to start with the first one. And let's start out with one of the leaves here. And you can decide which one you want. And then just wrap these in with floral tape. Now I'm going to add in the buds. And it's just basically wherever you want to add them. So I'm going to add in a green one and also a blossoming bud. And with how these branches are, you need 4 buds or 4 blossoms on each assembly. I'm going to do another bud here. Okay, then. I'm going to add in the blossoms. And you get to decide which ones you want to add in. Actually, I'm just going to leave these at 2 because there are some sets of 2 and there are sets of 4. So you can do 2 or 4. And I'm going to add in a leaf here. So here I have 2 of the stems made. So what I'm going to do is take one of the stems and just bend it at where the flower ends. And then wrap these both in with floral tape. And here I'm going to add a cluster of some flowers, just for a little nice touch. Now right here, it's up to you if you want to go all the way down to the end. You may just want to cut at some point. So if you don't want to wrap all the stems with floral tape, that's fine. You can end it here, or you can wrap it all in if you want. And then it'll just be a little bit harder to cut if you want to trim the wires later. I'm just gonna go down to about here, because just in case I want to trim the stems later. If you like this project and would like more projects like this, you may be interested in my book, Bead Flora, French Beaded, Branches in Bloom. If you are new to French beading, I suggest that you pick up my first book, Bead Flora, The Revival of French Beaded Flowers. This book will walk a beginner step by step on how to make French beaded flowers. You can find signed copies on my website or at all major book retailers online.